Hey, thanks for joining me for this video on ants crawling on the leg. And the reason why I'm making this video today is because I actually experienced this yesterday and this morning. And I work with sports injuries. I see this kind of stuff all the time with people that I work with, but I never really get a chance to have this much time with a condition like this because obviously it happened to me. This happened yesterday. I felt it this morning. So I thought I'd do a video on it just to kind of show you the thought process of the way we should go about treating and rehabbing these conditions. So first off, I'll tell you a story of at least how it happened. So I actually have a past injury as well. I don't know if you've read my bio, but it's at p2sportscare.com. I actually have a small disc herniation. I've had it since high school. I mean, that was probably 20 years ago now. I don't really have major issues, but obviously it's probably still in there. So I was actually debilitated in regards to playing high school baseball. I couldn't play anymore for at least a half a season. I think it was 8 months or so. But now I've really taken a lot of care of myself. I get treated, I rehab, I strength train, I do cardio, I do a bunch of stuff. And as if you've looked at my other videos, you've seen that I have Olympic lifting equipment in my office. I do a fair amount of heavy lifting. So I've been very, very good. But so yesterday I actually went and did a CrossFit workout. Not to say this was CrossFit's fault or anything. I have pre-existing conditions and so on. But for the most part, I was doing, we were doing body weight based of exercise. We were doing nothing with really any weight. We were doing a lot of rowing, lots of the erg rower, box squats, pistol squats. I forget what else we did. We did some jump rope as well. But for the most part, it was no longer than a 10-minute workout. And so when I got home, I actually I was washing dishes, and I started to feel like on my right leg, so right about here, I looked down and I thought, is there water on me? So I reached down and I wiped it off. I didn't see anything on there, so nothing was on there. Continued out making food. 30 seconds later, I felt like water's on me again. So I reached down, look for it, no water there. Then I finally started to realize, it really started to click that this is the sensation of ants crawling on you, which I've never actually had. And it typically happens in a dermatonal distribution pattern, or usually what that means is there is a nerve root from the spine which has a typical pattern that it will follow. And in this case, it was on the outer side right here again. So keep in mind, I don't have any back pain, no hip pain, no leg pain, knee pain, anything like that. It actually doesn't even hurt. It just feels like ants crawling on me. So my first thought was, since I've had that past disc injury, well, maybe that's a little bit of a flare-up. We did do some deadlifting yesterday. Possibly it was that. So I immediately thought maybe we should decrease the amount of flexion moment, which is going to be, so a lot of disc injuries or front side spinal injuries, such as disc injuries, compression fractures, they don't really like movements like this. It usually flares people up. So I typically ask people right when they come in with some type of symptom pattern like this, some type of sciatica, some type of back pain, typically you can find some movement which is more comforting than another, or it might relieve the pain. Or there's a movement, or also there's a movement which makes it worse. So I was looking for this to make it worse. It actually didn't make it worse. This actually made it worse, extending. So what I did was basically go on the ground and I extended backwards into a cobra position. And this, I was sitting there just kind of thinking, is it better? Because I can definitively feel the ants crawling on me. And I stood in there for about 30 seconds or so and it didn't go away. Next, I decided to try flexion. So I went into a child's pose with a little bit more of a round. And this actually took it away almost within 5 seconds. So I thought, cool, great, awesome. So this means that I'm looking at a backside spinal injury. And again, you might not know what that means, but there's front side. So let's just say this side, which is going to be the disc, the vertebral body, and stuff on the front part. The backside is behind the cord actually, so it's disc injuries, facet injuries, stenosis, facet arthrosis, and actually right as I'm sitting here right now I can feel the ants crawling right on this leg. So it actually goes down, it's on the right side of the shin bone. It's not actually on the shin, but it's right over here. So what I plan on doing is I plan on correcting my movements. And I've known for a very long time. I was actually picked out of a seminar one time because I was the perfect example of someone who extends their spine too much with hip motion. Example again. So if I was squatting and I was coming up, rather than driving the hips forward, I would extend the back first predominantly. So again, I'll show that again. So rather than driving the hips forward, I would typically extend here. And if you watch one of my older videos, it was probably about a month or so ago, I actually did one on my own squatting form. And it's a longer video. It's about 20 minutes, I think, 15, 20 minutes. I actually did some cueing and correction on myself to figure out how to decrease the amount of lumbar spine or low back extension that I have, because the reason why this is important, and pay attention to this, is because it won't hurt right then, and it probably won't hurt tomorrow. And this numbness or ants crawling I can deal with. But the problem is that you start compressing the joints in the backside right there, and eventually you'll get degenerative changes, osteoarthritis, facet arthrosis, all these things which can eventually become a problem later in life. So if we decrease the amount of strain we put on those areas right now, then we can really save ourselves. So go ahead and watch that video. I'll actually put a link below this video on how to correct my own squatting form. And you'll see throughout that video that I corrected it, but then when I got tired again, because I eventually went to cleans, it came back again, which this is why I believe yesterday when I was doing this workout, again, it's not the fault of CrossFit. I'm not doing any CrossFit bashing, so don't come after me on that. This can happen with any cardiovascular fitness or where there's increased cardiovascular strain. If you're watching my series on knee pain with running, actually through the runner's knee one, which will come out really soon, I think it's next, I actually go over the neurological and muscular breakdown, which basically means poor form will create running injuries. So we call it neuromuscular fatigue, and I go through the entire process on that. So please watch that video. It's really, really important, and I hope this was helpful to anybody who has ants crawling on them, and at least give you some comfort knowing that it is correctable. It is something that if you know how to treat it and the right methods to do, you can get rid of it. But the first thing is that if we can decrease the amount of sensation that you have right then and there, then we can rehab and strengthen and treat around it. If we can't pinpoint it, if we just blow it all out and just go on pain medications and ice and heat and so on and stretch it, then we're not going to find anything of value to give to our algorithm process to make treatment plans. So again, if you want to get a hold of me, it's at p2sportscare.com. Link will be at the bottom. And if you want to subscribe to this YouTube channel, please do. I try to put good stuff out every week. A link is in the bottom right corner of this video. I think I figured it out by now. And if you haven't known already, I have a podcast that is Performance Place Sports Care Podcast on iTunes. If you need to find it, that is p2sportscare.com/podcast, and you'll find it on there. Thanks, and join me next week.